If you want to speed up your workflow in Blender for hard surface modeling and you want to work up to 8 times faster, then this video is going to be for you. I'm going to show you the very basic intro to hard ups and Boxcutter, and I'll show you how powerful these add-ons are and how little you actually need to know in order to get started. Okay, let's go. All right, so people, when they grab Blender, a lot of noobs, right? They look at Blender as like, oh, it's so fucking complicated because so many menus. Dude, you don't need to know these menus, okay? I don't really use animation, shading, texture painting, UV editing, I don't use any of these because it's not my niche. I'm using layout. That's the only fucking menu I'm using, okay? Maybe compositing sometimes, all right? I think last time I used it was a year ago. But my point is, you don't need to know all the menus in Blender, just like you don't need to know all the menus in Hardups and Boxcutter, at least not day one. It's just gonna be too fucking much. Because if you go to Alt W to enable, Boxcutter, right, to enable these add-ons, and you go to the Boxcutter, advanced menu, I mean, you're gonna get a proper head spin, right? Because it's a lot of fucking, a lot of shit, right? And it could be intimidating. It's like, I can't fucking never learn this again. And you're gonna be thinking like, I can't learn this shit ever, like it's impossible. It's too much. Of course it's too much because you don't even know how to use the basic tools. So don't think like that. Think like, okay, what's the most basic way of using these add-ons? So that's what I want to show you, right? So let's grab a cube, right? And let's just pop a cube here. The first thing I will do is I will just go with Alt V, which is a Hardups menu, and pop a cavity on so I can see these edges a bit better. Now, there are two menus you're going to be using most of the time, okay? Is a Q menu from Hardups, okay? And D menu from Boxcutter, and that's it, right? There are other menus, but, let's just make it simple. So Q menu is very intelligent. It's going to show you the most probable tools that you may be using in this specific situation. So if I have a cube selected that has no modifiers, has no booleans on it, most likely I'm going to be sharpening it, beveling it, arraying it, or mirroring it, right? So let's say I wanted to bevel it. Okay, let's pop a bevel on it, right? Good. Then let's say I wanted to run weighted normal modifier. Great. Q, Alt, click on sharpen. See, there's a tooltip menu. Boom, done. And I got two modifiers running here. Well, three because we have smooth by angle as well. Now, let's say we wanted to cut it with a boolean, right? So, D menu, by default, you're going to be in cube cut and slice, which is going to be basically a difference boolean, right? So if by default with your Boxcutter enabled, you just press Alt W to switch between Hardups and Boxcutter, you can click here and drag your mouse, then release, pull this cutter down and approve with the left mouse button, okay, with a space, or you can press tab, which is going to pause it like this. And you can use these dots to adjust your cutter live, okay? And then space or left mouse button, okay? And there's your first cut. Now Hardups and Boxcutter will automatically sort out your modifiers, the order, right? So if you have a boolean running, you're gonna put it on the top. If you have a mirror running, you're gonna put it in a specific place. So all the modifiers are being sorted automatically. You don't have to think about it. It's a lot of time saved, okay? And all the modifiers come with specific settings. Like for example, weighted normal modifier comes with keep sharp on. Bevel modifier comes with the miter set to arc and segment set to 3. So you save all this time, all these precious seconds and movements and clicks you would need to perform with vanilla Blender, and it fucking adds up like crazy, okay? We estimate you can work up to 8 times faster or more when you're really proficient with Hardups and Boxcutter, okay? Now, speaking of getting proficient, if you really want to get serious about these add-ons and you want to maximize their efficiency and build your own workflow eventually, because that's the proper game, grab our course, the ultimate guide to Hardups and Boxcutter, which is 22 fucking hours long. It's so much content over there, it covers everything, okay? This is the only place, I'm not even kidding, it's better than the documentation, which is outdated. It's the only place on the internet where you can fully learn about these two add-ons. Period. That's it. And the first section is all the tools. Then you got modeling section and advanced sections. You can choose whatever you want. But the point of this course was to discuss all the stuff that's inside so you can decide what you want and how you want to structure your workflow. Because when you look at these tools, right, there's so many nuances, so many little fucking things that you can just, you know, turn one thing on and changes the way stuff behaves. Like for example, if I press Alt X, I'm gonna enable a mirror, and if I'm gonna go here, enable this option, it's gonna be flipping my texture decals when the mirror is applied. So when you mirror a decal, the image is not going to be a mirror image, it's going to flip correctly on the U-axis, okay? It's just a one thing, but if you don't know that, you're going to have to go to every single fucking mirror and flip each of the textured decals. Again, I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to, let me just go to render view here, right? And I'm going to grab our add-on material works. I'm going to, you know, pop some matte here on it, and I'm going to pop some HDRI. And maybe not this one, maybe grab some like a simple one, right? And if I'm going to pop a decal here, so let me just grab one of our decals, right? And by the way, this add-on comes with decals and trim sheets. It's like 1000 details, 50 mats, 25 wear mats. It's insane. Link in the video description too. So if I'm gonna mirror this across this cube, right? See the problem, right? It's flipped. So if you're going to enable this option here, all the decals gonna be flipped correctly. So if I'm gonna mirror this now, boom, right? See what I mean? So if you don't know this, right, you're gonna be wasting time on fixing mirror on each decal. My point here is that there are a lot of fucking little tools, a lot of little, you know, nooks and crannies that are just gold nuggets, right? And if you don't know them, you don't know how to really effectively create your workflow, how to build your workflow, right? But anyway, going back to basics. So, you know, the basic move gonna be bevel, cut, mirror, right? So mirror again, Alt X, and the mirror here is so intuitive. It shows you the colors of the axis. You don't have to think, am I on fucking X axis, Z axis, like what axis? If this shit is rotated, it just shows you. You can see visually. None of this guesswork bullshit in, you know, Vanilla Blender, which does me. Mirror in Vanilla Blender makes me want to crawl into an oven, open a gas valve, and play with fucking matches. Do you know what I mean? It's just diabolical, right? It's so unintuitive that it's just insane. So this mirror is what you want, because this mirror will show you from which axis or from which side to which side you want to mirror. So if I want to mirror this one to the other side, I just click here and I'm done. I don't have to think. I just react to the colors and, you know, and these little squares. So anyway, that's a mirror. So, you know, that's like very basic operations, but look at this. So let me just grab another cube here, right? And I'm gonna put it in here. And if I'm going to enable Q menu on this cube gonna look very different to Q menu on this cube, right? Because you see here is sharpen, bevel, and ever scroll, and here you got sharpen, bevel, array, and mirror. Now why? Because again, this menu is intelligent. It shows you or suggests the tools that you're most likely gonna be using. Since you don't have any booleans on this cube, there's no ever scroll because there's no point to have one. Now here we have a boolean live on that mesh, right? This one. So ever scroll is gonna be showing because I can now recover my cutter. If this shit was applied, so I'm gonna go here and run smart apply, which is gonna apply all the modifiers except for last bevel and last and weighted normals. So if I'm gonna run a smart apply here or press alt click on ever scroll, my ever scroll is gonna be gone because now I have no live booleans, and now I'm back to sharpen, bevel, array, and mirror. See what I mean? It's just intelligent. So let's say you had you know, other modifiers that, you know, the menu can change. In edit mode, you're gonna be different as well because you might be doing different things with that mesh. For example, I don't need array in this stage. What I do need, for example, is maybe, you know, the curve extract for running panels or for running pipes. If I select this edge and go here and press on curve extract, I'm gonna be running a pipe, right? If I'm gonna select faces in edit mode and gonna click shift curve extract, I'm gonna be creating a panel. Do you see what I mean? It just makes sense. And if I'm gonna go to solid mode, select the panel, what I wanna do, I wanna bevel it. Then I wanna add weighted normal modifier, so alt click on sharpen, and then maybe I wanna mirror it. Do you see what I mean? So that's why it's so intuitive and it's so fast to work with these tools, because once you learn just a few shortcuts, and by the way, you can go here to Hardops, you know, Hardops options, and you can actually enable stuff like Boxcutter notification, Q menu sequential prefixes, so you can actually see, like for example, E gonna be for array, W for bevel. So if you prefer using keys, you can. You can go Q, W, and you're gonna be running a bevel. So it's just meant to, so this menu is made to be easy to understand and kind of, you know, wrap your head around it. You just gotta have patience, right? But like I said, start with simple things. Start with bevel, mirror, you know, basic modifiers, solidification and stuff, because that's what you're gonna be using 90% of the time, right? Usually, you know, when I start working, it's gonna be, you know, add a cube, right? Add a bevel, so Q and bevel. Q and Alt click on sharpen to add weighted normals. I don't have to think about it because it's automatic, all the modifiers. Then I'm gonna be cutting. So Alt W to enable box cutter, right? And I'm gonna be cutting. If I wanna run a circular cut, go D, switch to circle, and, you know, run a circular cut, right? If I want to n-gon, go to D menu, switch to n-gon, right? And run a different cut. If you, for example, want to change the type of the cut, so let's say instead of Boolean difference, you want to run Boolean slice, right? Easy. Go to ever scroll, recover the cutter by scrolling your mouse, the one you want, let's say this one. Go to Q, and now look, we're gonna have Shift Bool. Another tool, Shift Bool. This will allow you to change the type of a modifier, type of a boolean on that card. So watch, I can cycle through them. Different types of booleans, right? So it's really, really intuitive, right? The way it's all structured. So there you go, that's how it works. And obviously there are many other things going deep, you know, like boolean management, you know, and some really crazy alignment tools, and, you know, tools that allow you to clean up your mesh, and, you know, it's all kinds of stuff. But that's going to be going much deeper than this, and I think you should start with the basics. But again, if you really want a very well structured guide to these add-ons, there's no better place than Ultimate Guide to Hardops and Boxcutter 2.0, and it's a fact, because even, like I said, the documentation is outdated, and none of the videos on YouTube gonna come even close to how in-depth this course is, okay? And plus, this course is packing 6 years of my personal knowledge of using these add-ons every day, professionally and for fun. And I think it's a 5th or 4th edition of this course that we launched. So yeah, we've been doing this for a while, okay? But anyway, that will be the very basics, and then, you know, you can, for example, switch cutters from a get-go. So let's say I wanted to run a slice cut here, so I'm gonna switch to, yeah, Blender 5.0. The fucking, I don't know, man, what they've done with the Blender 5.0. They fucked up something and it's just crushing, you know. I never had it in 4.4. This is why I'm working 4.4. I'm using 5.0 for the YouTube video, but normally when I work in 4.4 because this shit never crashes. 4.5, 5.0, garbage. I always crash. I don't know what it is, but it just, you know, absolute nonsense. But anyway, so let's run a cut here, right? Just a regular box. You can switch it by pressing X. You got all the shortcut keys on the bottom. See that? You don't have to remember them. Just remember what they are. So if I press X, you know, just cycle through different types of cuts, yeah? So if I wanted a slice, I'm just gonna press X once and I got a slice. So this is, you know, a slice boolean, right? So I got 2 booleans running on these 2 meshes, right? This one is a boolean and this one is a boolean, okay? And you get stuff like inset boolean, which is very difficult to create in vanilla Blender. It takes 5 minutes to make it. You here press X, you know, 3 times, and then press T, and you got, you know, inset boolean, which is something like this, which is really cool. You can do other things, like, for example, you can bevel your booleans, right? You can, you know, taper your booleans, you can solidify your booleans, you can mirror your booleans. You can do so many things, like, for example, if I wanted to mirror it to the other side, press 1, 2, 3, and I can mirror it to all sides, right? And I can, you know, turn it off as well. So a lot of stuff that, you know, you may discover on the way, but I'm just showing the potential of what you can do, right? So anyway, these would be the very basics. So again, start with the top of the Q menu, these options here above the fold, right? And just the very basic operations here, these 3 cutters, and just play with these, right? Don't worry about the rest for now. But like I said, if you want to go really deep into these 2 add-ons, there's no place better than Ultimate Guide to Hardops and Boxcutter 2.0. That's it. So link in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.